Ever found yourself stuck in a conversation about the weather, thinking about the meteorological models that predict it instead? You might just be an INTJ. So, you've been cornered at a party. The music is a bit too loud. The lighting is weird. And someone you vaguely know is telling you about their commute. On the outside, you're probably nodding, maybe even throwing in a wow. That's crazy. But on the inside, your mind is a whirlwind. A completely different movie is playing. This video is your backstage pass into the mind of an INTJ. During that exact moment, the dreaded small talk. We're going to pull back the curtain and see the intricate and sometimes hilarious mental gymnastics that happen when an INTJ is forced to stick around, because you might just find out why these conversations feel like a personal system failure for them and how their brain tries to debug the situation in real time. Let's set the scene. Imagine an INTJ, let's call him Alex, at a coworker's barbecue. Someone comes up and says, "Great weather we're having." On the surface, Alex smiles and says, "Yeah, it's beautiful." But inside, his brain is firing on all cylinders. His first thought isn't about the sunshine, it's an analysis. This is a standard social initiation script. The goal is to establish a low-stakes connection. Optimal response requires mirroring the positive sentiment acknowledged. Then, his mind might drift. I wonder what the barometric pressure is. Did that low-pressure system I saw on the weather map this morning dissipate faster than predicted? If so, what variables did the model miss? While the other person moves on to talk about their lawn, Alex is mentally charting atmospheric data. It's not that he's rude or disinterested on purpose, it's just that his mind is naturally wired to seek depth, patterns, and complex information. Small talk, by its very definition, is the opposite of that. It's surface level, repetitive, and often, from an INTJ's perspective, inefficient. It doesn't lead to a tangible outcome or a deeper understanding. It's like trying to run a complex software program on a calculator. The core of the issue for an INTJ is the perceived pointlessness of it all. Their primary cognitive function, introverted intuition, is all about seeing the big picture, connecting disparate ideas, and predicting future outcomes. They live in a world of what if and why. Small talk lives in the world of what is, right now, on the most superficial level. So when someone says, "How was your weekend?" the INTJ brain doesn't just hear a simple question. It hears a query that requires them to summarize a 48-hour period into a socially acceptable, brief, and uninteresting narrative. Their mind starts a rapid-fire sequence. Okay, my weekend. I spent 14 hours deep diving into the history of Byzantine architecture, finished a 600-page book on quantum mechanics, and optimized my personal budget for the next 5 years. How do I translate that into "it was good"? Pretty relaxing without sounding like a complete weirdo or a robot. They are constantly translating their rich, complex inner world into a simplified version for public consumption, and it's mentally exhausting. This translation process feels inauthentic, like they're playing a character, and for a personality type that values authenticity and intellectual honesty above almost all else, this feels like a betrayal of their own principles. Here's the real problem, the challenge that every INTJ faces. This constant internal monologue and analysis isn't just a funny quirk. It creates a genuine barrier to connection. While the INTJ is busy analyzing the conversation as structure and deconstructing the subtext of, "Did you see the game last night?" the other person just sees someone who seems distant, maybe a little cold or aloof. They miss the social cues to escalate the conversation or find common ground because they read too busy running diagnostics on the interaction itself. This creates a vicious cycle. The INTJ feels misunderstood and drained, which makes them withdraw further. The other person feels like the INTJ isn't interested, so they disengage. The result, the INTJ's belief that small talk is a pointless, inefficient waste of time is reinforced, making them even more reluctant to engage the next time. They might think, "See, this interaction achieved nothing. I didn't learn anything new. I didn't solve a problem, and I didn't form a meaningful connection. It was a net loss of energy." This can lead to social isolation, not because the INTJ dislikes people, but because they haven't found a way to bridge the gap between their preferred communication style and the one society expects. So, how does the INTJ mind try to solve this problem in the moment? They develop coping mechanisms. One common strategy is what I like to call the data mining pivot. The INTJ will latch on to one tiny, seemingly insignificant detail from the small talk and try to turn it into a deep dive. The person mentions they just got back from a trip to Italy. The average person might say, "Oh, fun. I love Italy." The INTJ, however, sees an opportunity. Their brain lights up. Italy, the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, the political and economic instability. Te basta. Te basta. I can work with this. They'll suddenly ask something incredibly specific, like, what are your thoughts on the structural integrity of the Colosseum given the city's seismic activity? Or, did you notice any interesting applications of Renaissance-era artistic principles in modern Italian design? They're not trying to be pretentious. They are genuinely trying to steer the conversation toward a topic they find interesting, a topic with substance. They are trying to find a way to connect on a level that feels real to them. Another strategy is the efficient exit. The INTJ will calculate the quickest, most socially acceptable route to end the conversation. They become masters of phrases like, "Well, I should let you go," or "It was great to see you. I need to go grab a drink." They have a mental map of the event space and have already plotted their escape route to a quieter corner or, ideally, the exit. The climax of this internal struggle, the key moment, often happens when the INTJ finds a conversational lifeline. It's that magical moment when small talk accidentally stumbles upon a topic of genuine substance. Suddenly, the script is thrown out the window. The person they're talking to mentions a documentary they just watched about artificial intelligence. It's like a switch flips in the INTJ's brain. The background processing shuts down, the social anxiety fades, and the real person emerges. All that mental energy that was being used to analyze social cues is now fully directed at the topic. Their eyes light up. They lean in. They start sharing their own meticulously researched theories, connecting ideas the other person hadn't even considered. They're no longer just translating. They are communicating, building, and exploring ideas. This is the INTJ in their element. For the other person, it can be a startling, but often fascinating, transformation. They go from talking to someone who seemed reserved and quiet to someone who is passionate, insightful, and brilliant. This is the connection the INTJ was craving all along. They don't hate talking to people. They hate talking about nothing. When they find someone who is willing to skip the fluff and dive straight into the deep end, they can be the most engaging and loyal conversational partners you'll ever meet. It proves their internal theory that connection is possible. It just requires the right catalyst. So, to wrap it all up, the next time you see someone looking a bit lost during a lighthearted chat, remember what might be happening beneath the surface. For an INTJ, small talk isn't just boring. It's a complex cognitive puzzle they are constantly trying to solve. Their mind is a busy control room, analyzing data, running diagnostics, and searching for an entry point into a more meaningful exchange. They aren't being rude or snobby. They're just operating on a different wavelength, one that prioritizes depth, logic, and efficiency over social pleasantries. They are navigating a world that communicates in a language that doesn't come naturally to them. Understanding this internal world is key. It helps us see that their silence isn't emptiness, but a mind brimming with ideas, just waiting for the right question to be asked. And when you ask that question, you unlock a world of fascinating conversation. If you're related to this, you'll definitely want to see our video on why INTJs seem so intimidating.